disrupted the industry in a way. Nobody had the courage to bell the cat. Nobody wanted to do, kind of take that first step.
We are in a digital revolution and the old practices and ways of going to work have changed.
Correct.
And the next generation don't want to walk down the street and knock on the doors and give their CV, and they won't do it. And that's why the industry is just aging. So unless we give an opportunity or a way to go to work that is the way they want to go to work, we will fail.
I want to start a business and I've created a product. I want to go to 3 countries, Australia, America and the UK. What are the things I should take care of in terms of culturally how different they are to operate? To people who are starting their journey as an entrepreneur, how would you advise that they find a co-founder for themselves? Dream team dinner. If we could host a dinner with 3 people, alive or from history, to discuss business, innovation or life, who would each one of us invite and why? Today I'm really excited to have somebody on board who's made it big in the fit tech industry. A problem that has been there in the industry for probably 2 decades, but nobody's been able to bell the cat. Nobody's taken that first step to make it a solution which is viable for both trainers and operators. Today's episode is going to be about how you disrupt the market by trying to solve very simple problems that impact huge populations. Thanks for doing this, Rosanna.
Thank you for having me, Samir. It's great to be here today.
And thank you for traveling all the way from London.
Yes.
I know Manchester is not probably the best place to come, especially this part of the year when it's raining. In fact, it's fucking always raining. Yeah.
It was raining.
Yeah. Thank you. Standard.
It was an adventure. Thank you. I haven't been here for some years, but it's always got an amazing energy and buzz. So It's good to be back.
Yeah, always good to speak with entrepreneurs. And one thing I've noticed about what you're doing is you've actually disrupted the industry in a way. I think a lot of us as operators wanted a solution to a problem that existed, but I think nobody had the courage to bell the cat. Nobody wanted to do, kind of take that first step. It's a difficult problem to solve.
Yeah.
So, what made you think about actually trying to solve the problem and make it tech based, right? And also considering the fact that you're not a techie.
No, exactly.
Right?
No, got no business in building something like this whatsoever.
So for the benefit of our viewers, tell me, what does your company do?
So CoverMe is essentially a matching engine or a marketplace, depending on how you want to look at it. So I guess from a very high level, we connect sports and fitness professionals with operators. So whether that's health clubs or sports teams that need referees, tennis courts, whatever it might be, if they have a sports or fitness professional working with them, then we can connect those 2 things. And we do that by using 2 apps. So there's an app that the operators have, and then there's a network for the fitness professionals as well. So it's a 2-sided solution. And when we built this, it was really important that we focused on creating a solution that was as valuable for the operator as it was for the fitness professional. Because we understood very quickly, if you only focus on half the problem and you need both sides for this to work, we wouldn't have a successful solution. And the reason that we came about building this app was because Beverly, co-founder, and I have grown up in this industry. And I think anyone that's in this industry is hugely passionate about it, because it's not often for the money that you work within this.
You don't make money in this industry, do you?
So
we all know it.
It's passion, for sure. So we grew up, actually, incidentally, we met 15 years ago and we were working together. And we went through multiple different positions, but it tended to be more on the business and sales and marketing side of things. But our first adventure of business was mixing fitness and technology when we created immersive studios. So we had a number of immersive studios that would have a high volume of clients and a high volume of classes per week. And it was when we were operating these studios that were immersive, CGI animated, front end sparkly, instructors incredible. Behind the scenes, when we were operating this, it was a bit of a mess. And that wasn't because we weren't very good at it. It was simply because we didn't have the tools, the systems, or the infrastructure to manage things. And that really came down to the most important people or the most important thing within your business, which is your people. So that's why members come, not because you have the best technology, not because you have the best text. It's the people, whether that's from the front of house team or the trainers. That's what really keeps the retention going. So when you're managing people, the behaviour of humans is that they change their mind, they're unable to do things, they're unwell. So there's lots of swaps and changes that are happening. Now, when you're managing a product that requires so many different people in your business to deliver it, that becomes a challenge.
Correct.
And when you're trying to continue to promote and deliver the product that your members have paid for, when someone says, I can't come in tonight, everything stops while you try and fix that. And when you're trying to fix it on WhatsApp groups, social media, phone calls, email, ask your friend, ask your mum, do whatever you can to get that class filled, it takes a huge amount of time.
Funny you say this. I remember when I used to run gyms, I used to always say, I probably have more fucking WhatsApp groups than contacts in my phone. Because every gym had like 20 groups.
That's
and
it. Group for this, group for that. And the reality is impossible to manage.
Yeah.
Not always on brand, the tone of voice. You're also saying yes and no to people that are putting their hand up to help you. And in a public forum, you're kind of saying, no, I'm going to work with, Sarah tonight. Or it's just not very conducive to a healthy work environment either. The WhatsApp's going off all night. It's unmanageable.
It is.
So that paired with, we've got the subbing situation or cover. Then you've got the communication piece. Then you've got, where's the certificates and insurance and compliance sitting? Somewhere over here, but communicating over here. Where's the connection? And then how do I also find talent when none of my team can do this? So I want to be able to, just like ordering a cab, I want to be able, in 3 steps and under 30 seconds, be able to find a yoga instructor who's in the area and able to cover tonight's class. So we set about... we looked for a solution on the market. There wasn't one, so we decided to build it. And I think that's the way Beverly and I have worked throughout time. Sometimes the innocence of not knowing something actually gives you the confidence to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
So we said, how hard can it be?
Yeah.
Well, it's quite difficult, actually.
But that's what I say. Ignorance is bliss.
That's it, exactly. So we really, truly believed there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
These systems are so archaic, yet the front end looks fantastic, and we're not just, a few health clubs around the world. This is potentially $1 trillion industry, and we're functioning with tools that are not fit for purpose. So in order to maintain the growth that we're experiencing, we have to build a better infrastructure for the future of work. And we believe with our app and the connection that it provides, we can provide that infrastructure globally. And what that means is that everything sits in your pocket, in the palm of your hand. Your current team, your future team, you can operate everything in respect to that from one app. And from an instructor's point of view, I can qualify, download the app, upload my certificates, my insurance, and I can be open to a network that evening. So I can raise my profile and earn more money. Because I think my last point on that is that we are in a digital revolution, and the old practices and ways of going to work have changed.
Correct.
And the next generation don't want to walk down the street and knock on the doors and give their CV, and they won't do it. And that's why the industry is just aging. So unless we give the next generation an opportunity or a way to go to work that is the way they want to go to work, we will fail.
2025 is the gig economy.
That's it.
Everybody wants to be on their own.
Yes.
And if they are given a choice to work for somebody full-time versus doing their own stuff, they would be happier to make less money but have more time for themselves. And that's the reality of the world. I absolutely fucking hate it, but that's the reality of the world.
No, it's true. It's true. When we operated the club and we used to, you'd have team members and it's brilliant. It's just a different way of thinking, but they'd say, that's my 20 hours and now I'm going to go off and do X, Y, and Z because I want to, keep the balance right and make sure that I have a good social life and all these other things. Whereas we grew up in a generation where, it's a good thing to work 60 or 70 hours a week and absolutely go for it. And that's what you need to do. So it's a very different way of working. And I think we need to build for that.
And as entrepreneurs, we work 100 hours a week.
Absolutely.
After that, we stop counting.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Emma Barry called you the Uber of the industry.
Yes.
Now, say somebody is not from this industry, right? I'm just the gym member somewhere. If you were to explain what you do to a layman, how would you explain that? Why are you the Uber of our industry?
I think it's down to that connection piece. So it's being able to access talent or something you want.
Which in Uber is a taxi.
Is a taxi.
Is a cab,
so
yeah.
you need someone. You need a taxi.
Correct.
And by using one platform, you can reach that person. You know that they're qualified in some respect. So there's a safety angle.
I have a
to
driver's
it.
license, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Agreed.
exactly.
My
So
car's
that's
got
a tick.
insurance, yeah.
Exactly, tick. So they've done some vetting, which is what we do. That's a really important piece. And I can choose. It's slightly different to Uber because you can select which fitness professional you want to come in and to cover the class, for example. or
Not
to cover
really.
the
I would
live.
still say it's like Uber, and I'll tell you why. This is what I've heard. So in Uber, we as customers we rate people. So the driver who's closest to you may not actually get chosen because he's got a bad rating or something. I
Right,
think they
okay.
prioritize based on the rating. So which is what
Right.
probably the gyms do for you.
Yes, that's the algorithm in the background.
Yeah,
But there's
yeah.
still one piece where they can select at the end, or it can be an automatic selection.
Okay.
And then you watch that person come to work, just like you would watch the taxi come to work, if they're happy with that. So not
Yeah.
all instructors want to be
Obviously.
to be able to be seen on the map, but if they turn on their location, then you can literally watch them
Just
come
like
to your
Uber.
club, just like Uber.
Yeah.
And I think, just like with Uber, Deliveroo, Netflix, everything's in the palm of your hand.
Right.
People are expecting that.
Convenience.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I go back and look at my journey when I was running my own gyms, one of my top challenges was used to be a fucking nightmare. And then the entire team, right from the GM up to the trainer, is just trying to figure out who's going to do this class. And it's Murphy's Law always. The day the class gets cancelled is the day you got maximum number of people turning up through your doors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's a big problem that you've solved.
Yeah.
And I think that no wonder people call you the disruptors of the industry.
Yeah.
Tell me what's been your big top challenge in terms of building this app, because I think the two important things we need to understand is that the moving parts here are very different. One of them is a B2B moving part. A gym moves in a very different way. You're dealing with owners, general managers, flow managers kind of profile. And on the other hand, you're dealing with independent trainers. So there are two completely different way of communicating with these people.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So how did you manage to kind of get all this together? You did mention you got two apps.
Yes.
But your onboarding of the gyms
Yes.
versus onboarding of the trainers.
Yeah.
Tell me what was the journey like for both of these?
Well, simultaneous, which is what can make it challenging,
Correct.
because you need both sides to be built at the same time.
Absolutely.
And that's when we identified that rather than just like an Uber app where it's just purely gig, we needed to be able to help clubs manage their existing team. And by doing that, we started to build our network, because when a club works with us, if they have freelance instructors, they come onto the app, which helps build the network, and then their employed team are on the app, but they're locked off because they're obviously employed by that company.
Obviously.
So that's the theory behind it. And by doing that, you do get to build the market at the same time. Probably the biggest challenge is the pain point is very real, and you described it there. It becomes everybody's problem within those four walls. Now, when you talk to more big box facilities, there is, of course, a gap between the person who's at the coalface of fixing that problem and someone at head office that's maybe looking at the price of putting this software in, seeing that, well, currently all the tools that person uses is free. They're using it's free. So the education around the value of the time that we save an operator, being between 8 to 10 hours a week, is significant.
It is.
And if you can give an operator 8 to 10 hours a week back to spend with members or to drive growth, that's going to move the needle.
100%.
And that's going to make a difference between net member movement, which is what everybody's so laser focused on. So education of the pain point, who's feeling it, and then how do you educate perhaps the people that aren't experiencing it, the impact of their business. Much easier if if we're helping a swim school.
Yeah.
Because if you don't run that swim lesson, there's 6 tickets of kids not paying for that lesson. So it's like immediate yes.
Correct.
Finance director is going to be like, get it in.
Yeah.
Group exercise is more tricky because it's already something that costs. It's so valuable, and we know that if you heat map a health club, often, you know, the gym usage and the group X usage is very similar.
It is.
But the cost to group exercise is so large because of the team that need to deliver that. So that can be a challenge. And, you know, some operators make very quick decisions and some take a bit longer. So there's a pipeline to consider, and you need to make sure that whilst you're building that pipeline, because the clubs is the opportunity for the instructors. So an instructor needs to know that there's opportunity to join our app. Yeah. So it's that balance.
I think you got a lot of moving parts here. You know, you're a tech company, so you have to have, as a founder, you're juggling with a lot of balls here. You're looking at a tech product. You need to communicate with the tech team as to what you want as a product, right? And that comes from the customer feedback, the trainer feedback, and everybody. That's one part of it. And the second bit is you need to collaborate with people, right? It's a lot about collaboration, right? And then because you don't want to step on people's toes, you know. So that's one bit of it. And then you're dealing with gyms, which are like, you know, entities where initially people would say, like you rightly said, there are some decisions which are like, yeah, let's go ahead with it. And then some of them are, I don't know if I want to do it or not. And then there are trainers who are on board, who need to know who you are and then come on the platform.
Yeah.
So how's your team structured to deal with all these 4-5 moving parts?
Well, I'm a really firm believer in working with the best people within that space of what's needed. So I think Bev and I work very differently, and we have things that we're very good at, and naturally there's things that we're not so good at. And as the first two, as founders, we have a brilliant synergy. So we're both completely different. We both do very different things, and we both like different things. So I'll run in with 15 ideas a day, and Bev will tell me 30 reasons why none of those are going to work.
Yes.
And then I maybe win one a day. Well, that's the one a month. Let's be realistic. And
that's a good day then.
Yeah, that's a good day. So that's so necessary. So when you start from the two of us, we try and hire in that way. So what is that individual particularly good at? So they are fantastic at that. What do they not like doing? So rather than hiring kind of like traditional roles, and of course people need titles, what are you really good at? And then you deal with that bit. And then when we sit around the table as a team, we look to weighted judgment. So rather than everyone become an expert, who has got the most years in that? Who's had the most success? Let's look at the data. Let's make the decision that way. And then we operate like that. So everyone has a voice. We listen. And I think that's meant that we can develop at a really quick pace, because we have the best person in each area. Because as you say, there's so many different areas, and you need to be across all of them to be able to grow in the way that we're growing at the moment. So we make sure that we have incredible feedback loop, so that we understand what the development needs to do, so that we can make sure the product is as good as it needs to be and continues to get better every month. And then we need to make sure that we are listening and have someone from the world of operators. And that's not one person. There's the big box operator, there's the boutique operator, there's the franchisee. So there's lots of different voices, and we make sure that we've got experts within each area that are telling us. Because the worst thing we could do is we identified a problem. Well, that's over 2 years ago. Well, probably 5 years ago when we thought about it. But we identified that problem. Things move fast. The problems change. Gotta be. Well, hopefully we'll solve for this, and then that's one problem solved. But there'll be something else. So we've got to make sure, we don't want the app to start shining people's shoes, but it needs to evolve, and we need to make sure that we're at the cutting edge of what we do to stay ahead.
And there's another layer of complication for you. Your dev team sits in a different time zone,
yes.
Culturally very different. Your development happens out of India and Bangalore.
Yes, that's right.
How do you deal with that?
Well, I think it's that it's mindset, really, isn't it? So in terms of when you think of time zones, who cares? So we were up very early in the morning, and we're up still late at night talking to the US, but you don't care because you love what you do. So when there's like a physical, if you like, boundary to what you're doing, as an entrepreneur, you don't care, you don't see it.
Correct.
Because that's where they are, and that's the best people for the job, so that's what's going to be done. So you don't even deal in that conversation in your head. It just gets done that way. And then we've just been really lucky that they're an exceptional team and we get on really well. And we really, once again, respect who is the expert in the room when it comes to this. We have really focused on what those development features need to be. We've mapped everything we want in our way so that what people say about the app is you can really feel it's been built by someone within the industry, because we've really solved for the ecosystem of pain points.
Yeah, I think your UI UX is absolutely fucking spot on.
Thank you.
And I think that people like simplicity. You know, you look at an app as complicated as Amazon or an Uber.
Yeah.
In the back end, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
But it just seems to be made for me.
Yeah.
When I pick it up, I'm never confused to find something. You know, I had a friend of mine, he used to run the UI UX process for HP, the IT company. And he said, Samir, my biggest challenge is my customer should be able to find a product on my website in 3 clicks.
Yeah.
And I've got over 3,000 products. So that fucking takes a lot of doing, right?
Yeah.
So I think I was extremely impressed with your UI UX, the way you made it. It's pretty simple, very intuitive.
Good.
Now culturally, again, this has been my experience, and I've done some dev work, not personally, but my team has done dev work.
Yes.
It's very difficult to communicate what you want. We're all, as operators, we want everything under the sun. You know, we want everything in. So a lot of times it's not about the choices. It's about what you want to eliminate out.
That's right.
And so how did you go about this process? Because you're talking lots of things at the same time.
Yes.
So this process of elimination, could you run us through that?
Absolutely. So we started with one thing. So we wanted to solve for cover. So subbing or cover. So we started with that, and then you very quickly realise that you do need to connect it to those other things. And we were told over and over, just build the matching engine first and then start to add on, which was painful because in my heart, I know that there's all these other pain points and you just need to be able to solve them all at the same time. There has to be an ecosystem, right? But they just solve the matching engine first. That's the key piece to this. So we did. So we solved the matching engine first. And then the other pieces, naturally, we managed to slip into the development and start to develop those things. And I think the other thing we very quickly learn is to just do one thing at a time, test it, because predicting what people want is the most dangerous thing you can do. Or the way someone thinks. So the way round, for example, the QR check-in system needs to be. Is it the venue QR checking the instructor, or is it the instructor taking a picture of the QR? Silly things like that, but it makes a massive difference.
Yeah,
one way, no one does it. The other way, everyone does it. So, but if you're too busy doing 10 things at once, you didn't see that. Yeah. You didn't get that feedback. Yeah. So it's really important that we built slowly and then test, and then scale back, simplify. So we didn't want to make something look amazing and then after testing, realise that it didn't work. So we tend to make it look okay, test it, and then it's good. Iterate and go for it.
You know, this is the parallel I always draw, and I talk about this when you said scale, then scale back, and then take a step back. It reminds you of mountaineering. You know, when you go towards when you're climbing, you acclimatize. So what you do is if you have to go to 10,000, you go to 12 and then you come back to 10 and you acclimatize.
Right.
And then you move forward and you come back and you move forward and you come
I
back.
didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I learned this the first time I was going to the Everest base camp, and people told me, no, you go to 12 and come back. I said, what the fuck am I doing this?
Yeah.
You know, why are you taking me to 12 and then come back? Please, come on.
Yeah.
But that's how it's supposed to be done. So yeah, I mean, and that's what you do as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah,
you try more things, and you say, okay, no, this is not working. You come back.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned something about your co-founder being very different, you know, in terms of your skill sets.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people tend to choose people who are like them.
Yeah.
Because it's more comfortable, right?
That's right, yeah.
To people who are starting their journey as an entrepreneur, how would you advise that they find a co-founder for themselves? You know, some people say your best friend could be your best co-founder. It just doesn't work for me. I've realized that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Do you become friends as you go along on the journey?
Yeah.
Do you start working with a friend?
Yeah.
Do you work with somebody who you don't get along with?
Yeah.
Do you work with somebody who always has a difference of opinion, but that makes you uncomfortable? How do you look at choosing a co-founder for yourself?
Yeah.
What's your mantra?
I think we were really lucky because we met each other through work and then we decided to go into business together. So that's, I think, a natural fit. I imagine is always easier than going out hunting for someone, because when you have a list of things, it's probably like dating. If you have a list, you start putting people into boxes and you probably never fulfill that list. But if you just meet someone, you realise that they're the right person for you. And actually, if you'd ever put them down on paper, that probably wasn't what necessarily would have been those categories. So I think what's really important is, I would say they do something different to you. So that there's a value add. So, you know, I remember early on someone saying that if there's two of you that do the same job, one of you will be fired.
Yeah, 100%.
So that obviously was, you know, a good lesson to learn. So I think the important thing is that they have a value add. So they do what you can't do, so that both of you can support probably a different mentality. So if you're both really optimistic, you don't have someone to pull you down and pull everything to shreds and dive deep into the detail and really work through what's going to be the right thing to do. And then finally, I think just respect of each other, because there are going to be times that are so hard and there can be no blame. There can only be respect for everything you've done and everything that you're doing and everything you're about to do, because there's no time for anything else.
Yeah.
And also humour, because it's horrific sometimes. But if you can walk out and just go, that was horrendous. You know, they flat out said no. Someone once said we were trying to climb Everest without oxygen. Brilliant. That was, thanks. So off we did, you know, and we just thought, if anything, that just spurred us on. But if you can't laugh about that, if that's going to upset you, it's going to be a short story.
Yeah.
You've got to laugh, you've got to sing, you've got to make things humorous, because it's that time, you know, more often than not, it's really difficult. You get more no's than you get yeses.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
So you've got to be quite hard, and you've got to have you can't catastrophize. Things need to just, you know, roll over.
Yeah.
Because nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
It will, as long as you both believe, you both have the same energy, grit and determination. You'll work at different paces. So I work 1 million miles an hour, and then Beverly's very self-paced, and that's really important. Little frustrations will come up, but you know, you need to just know that at the end of the day, you're doing it together. You respect what each other's doing, and you're not going to stop.
Yeah.
No one's stopping.
Yeah. Somebody
no one
has
wobbles.
to be. Yeah, I mean,
and if someone has a bit of a day when they're crying, the only answer can be like, you need to pull yourself together.
In my organization, I'm like the father of clusterfucks. You know, everything that can go wrong, I will make sure it goes wrong, and then people have to fucking clean the shit.
Well, that's what they say, isn't it? All the mistakes, and then you know the right way. Fail fast.
Yeah,
it's an actual strategy.
Yeah. Fail fast. I mean, organizations that they do well are not the ones that don't fail. They are the ones that fail fast, learn, and move on.
Yeah.
Because you can never. I mean, like we were discussing earlier, you know, over lunch. You know, everybody's fucking winging it. Believe me,
Absolutely.
everybody's winging it.
Yeah.
It's just how much confidence do you have when you're doing it.
That's right.
And I would say it's not faking it, it's having belief.
Yeah.
You know what? I may have taken the wrong path. But as we move on this path, if I feel something is not working, I have the courage to change.
Yes, exactly.
But I am going to go to my destination where I need to go to, whatever it takes. It doesn't matter. You know, you're walking on the path, you find an obstruction, you just don't stop your journey. You take a detour, you do whatever it takes, but you fucking do what you have to do. Absolutely. So I think people don't understand that. So, you know, a lot of things, we've spoken about a lot of things we need to do as entrepreneurs. Tell me, when you start as an entrepreneur, right, you know, there must have been skills that you have to unlearn, right? So, jumping from being an employee of an organization to becoming an entrepreneur, there are skills that you need to unlearn to be a successful entrepreneur. What do you think are those?
Might sound odd, but I feel like I can't answer it, because I feel like from a child I was an entrepreneur. So I didn't unlearn. I went into I just followed the way that you would go into work. So I went to work for a corporate. I don't feel like I was ever really in behaving as I should have done within that corporate structure.
Yeah.
I did my own thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I ever really had to unlearn anything, because I don't think I was a terribly good employee, if I'm really honest.
Yeah.
I think I did my own thing and kind of made it work my own way. Because when I was, we lived on a farm and there was a caravan field. And so when I was younger, from the moment I could go and make money, I was making money. So on a Saturday afternoon, I used to do a show down in the caravan field and then go around and collect money. And I just did that off my own back with my parents who were at work. So I just thought it would be a really good idea to go and earn a bit of extra money. I loved it. And you know, you were saying earlier about that, can't sit still. And it feels like there's an opportunity around every corner. So from that young age, I wanted to be part of thinking of ideas. So I used to love building dens. So that idea of like, what could be. I never liked playing in them particularly, but I wanted to build them and I wanted to get all the materials, and it would take weeks and then you'd build it and you'd say, right. So that adventure, I think, that you get as an entrepreneur is so addictive. And the feedback and the elation that you get when you see that you've solved for something is just... So I think that was always in me. I don't think I was a very good employee, to answer your question. I don't know if I had to unlearn anything. I think it was just the way I was.
And I try to ask this question, fucking never get an answer, and tell you why. Because most entrepreneurs I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
So my boss used to tell me, it was back in the day, I used to work with a company called ICICI, and my boss, Ashu Kalappa, he used to tell me, Samir, you're not meant to be a fucking employee. You start something of your own, we'll support you.
Yeah.
But it's
Amazing.
very difficult to deal with people who are not meant to be employees. So I would do what I think is right. One of my first things I would do when I would start working in any organization, so I get a new job, the first thing that goes in my draft is a resignation letter. Okay. So the day somebody says, boss, you're not doing it this well, I say, fuck off, man, I'm going to go do it somewhere else. Because I'll do what I like to do.
Yeah.
I will be 100% dedicated to what I do. I would put in my heart and soul, but I would do it my way.
Yeah.
If you've got me in a job, I would do it my way.
Yeah, you can only do it your way.
Yeah. You can't tell me what's to be done.
No.
How it's to be done. I'll do the what. Yeah, if you tell me to do this, I will do it, but I'll tell you how I'll do it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm good at. So like you said, building things, and I think that's a trait of most entrepreneurs,
I think so, yeah. The adventure.
Yeah.
And it's a constant one.
It's not the pursuit of happiness, it's the happiness of the pursuit.
Absolutely.
It's just that. And once you achieved it, you want to jump on to the next thing. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, that's
so you've got
it.
something really nice. You don't even spend time enjoying it. You just say, man, what's next? What's going to be the next big thing?
And how you change, you really, because you don't necessarily have a structure of a manager or someone, you have a team around you, and all the people that you meet, you evolve as a person, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do.
Dramatic. You have so many incredible conversations, and you can surround yourself with like-minded people. And as long as you're really listening, I think that's how we've done all of the success is really, but just by listening to other people, because everyone's done probably part of what you're trying to achieve. If you listen, you can avoid so many mistakes, and then you'll make hundreds yourself. But really listening as you go along, just means that you evolve along this journey. Which, you look back at yourself and you think, I can't believe, you have that feeling of, I can't believe we did it.
Yeah.
But we did.
You in fact mentioned something that when people see your app, and that's exactly what I thought, boss, this has been made by somebody from the industry, a trainer or something like that. And you now mentioned that you're talking about, listening to people. So did you have a think tank kind of a thing when you were starting that, okay, get some trainers, get some operators? How did you, run me through the process of building the app? We all knew the problem.
Yes.
Right? I think the problem is probably a couple of decades back that somebody identified this as a problem.
Absolutely,
right? So run me through the process of how you said, okay, guys, this is what we're going to build to start with.
Yeah. So, we were experiencing the problem. So we'd heard about the problem, but it was never our problem, so we didn't think anything of it. Then when we were operating, it became our problem. So at that point, we thought, we need to solve for this. There'll be no growth unless we can solve for this, just personally in our business. So the manager at the time had incidentally done computer science, and he said, I can build something like that. And we were like, really, Graham? And he was like, yeah, I can build something like that. So he built something. He used to code and code and code, and I don't know what was happening, but in essence, at the end of it, it would push a message out to our team, who were If we were looking for yoga, it would only go to yoga. If we were looking for body pump, it would only go for body pump. So he built that, and it would email them. And then they'd be able to say, whoever hit that button first, that would mean that was the person coming. So it was not perfect. It was not pretty. It still used some of the outdated systems. So it was on a computer desktop, and it went to instructors' emails. But it allowed us to see that, hang on a minute, we just went from not being able to cover classes last minute to being able to cover classes at a 78%. These are the emergency ones. Incredible. That was a huge lift for us.
Wow.
So we thought there's something in this. So we then took time to research globally. We did research on the members' experience, because when members leave a club, you don't have a section for them to say they left because classes were cancelled, PT was cancelled, swim. It's not there.
No
so
exit
you say
interviews.
it doesn't exist,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it does exist.
Yeah.
So we got that information.
Yeah.
So we now know that 37% of members will leave a club because of disruption or cancellation to their product. Too right. I think, fair
100%.
enough. They're paying for something, they expect it to be there. So consumer research, instructor research, we found out over 50% of instructors would avoid going away on holiday because of the stress and anxiety of trying to find cover. Crazy. And then we found out that operators were, on average, between 10 to 15 WhatsApp groups and spending 10 to 15 hours a week managing this.
Yeah, that's what they told you, more than 10 groups.
And then the other piece that was really fascinating / alarming was that 80% of the clubs were not looking after compliance at all. Or they were doing it in a way that wasn't GDPR compliant. So, locked in a cabinet or on an Excel spreadsheet. You can't do that anymore. So there's so many areas that were just alarming. We thought, right, okay, let's look at building this solution.
Okay. I have a message from my team, which is basically they want to do something like a fun session.
Okay.
And I'm going to read out those questions for you. I've got
ready.
it on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And here we go. So, dream team dinner. If we could host a dinner with 3 people, alive or from history, to discuss business, innovation, or life, who would each one of us invite and why? So you and I both need to answer this. So
Okay, do you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay. Elon Musk.
Okay, excellent.
His vision, his ability to succeed at what he sets out to do, or at least that's the bits that we see. Obviously a brilliant mind.
Yeah.
Then I would say Oprah. Because I think there's a balance and there's a storytelling that is exceptional.
Oh.
That what she's been able to do has been, almost is undeniable.
Yeah.
However you think
She's
about
a phenomenon.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the storytelling is what has been
Yeah.
so, I think, integral. And then I would say Warren Buffett. I just love his book. I think that was one of the kind of blueprints.
Why Warren Buffett? I mean, he's one of my favorites as well. I'm not going to give obviously these 3 names, but why Warren Buffett? Because it would have been one for me as well.
Yeah, I think just his assessment and understanding and ability to then explain the values of success. I really adhere to his principles. They make sense. They're fair. They're honest. And, the success is undeniable as well, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah. How about you?
Okay, so I would say Steve Jobs. And
Yes.
obviously we discussed the name over lunch.
Yeah.
And I abuse the guy every day, and the abuse because he's been able to create something. Look at the monopoly. All manufacturers on one side, Android all on one side, and one fucking Apple.
Yeah.
Right? They can take 30% off from their app for any revenue you get.
Yeah.
And you will still go to Apple.
Yeah.
They are, and for a guy he's not a biggest techie. I still remember the movie Jobs, if you remember that movie.
Brilliant.
And the guy says, what the fuck do you even do, man? You don't code, you don't do this. What do you do?
Yeah.
But he's the guy who had the vision, and he was eccentric. And then that's what I like about him. He had such clear vision as to what he wanted. Imagine somebody coming to you, I want a phone with one button. Are you fucking mad?
Yeah.
With one, so you want everything on one. But and nobody could imagine that. But he made it, and then he made a closed ecosystem. So super highest respect for him.
Yeah.
Second would be, a cricketer, Sachin Tendulkar.
Right.
I don't know if you watch cricket,
I don't know.
but he is the epitome of hard work. I believe, and this is, one Indian commentator talks about it, Harsha Bogle says that, at top, when you are at the top, talent is the most useless virtue to have.
Yeah.
Because you have to be fucking hardworking. If you got all your life, if you've been on the top because of talent, when you reach right at the top, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Because you've never worked hard for it. So if you're a great sprinter, he used to train, like, he went on for 52 days without even, I don't know what that exact date is, but for those 52 days, every day he would go play, come back, sleep for 5-6 hours, go back again. And he's somebody who's extremely hardworking.
Yeah.
I always say hard work would triumph, talent any given day.
Absolutely.
I would have somebody who's not very talented, but have somebody who's got the resilience and who's very hardworking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Third one would be Ben Francis. Young guy.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Man, look at his story.
Something
And
special there.
there are enough people in the world who are young and who made it big. So not for that, but I think one of the biggest things that showed his maturity was when he stepped down as the CEO of the company and said,
Yeah.
you know what, I'll get somebody else. I want to get closer to my product. I want to do what I'm doing, and then came back. More. He had more depth of knowledge of his own product, of his own company, and he took that decision. I think a lot of times people have big egos and they say,
Yeah.
I made a fucking $1 billion company. I'm not going to listen to anybody. He took a step back and learned. So huge respect for him.
Yeah.
So that would be my third one.
Yeah, brilliant guests. You should just make it a big round table, I think.
Oh,
you
wow.
know, you get that jealousy when you're answering yours. I'm like, well, that's a good one. I should have prepared.
I wish I had these guys. Okay. The road not taken. Explore a career path or passion that both of us almost pursued instead of entrepreneurship. And why did we choose the road that we are on now? Ooh, I have an answer for this.
Yeah, you go first.
Should I?
Yeah, you go first.
Nah, you should have
I don't have an answer. You go, and it will give me some time to think.
So, back in the day, I used to be in the human resources and I was so passionate about it. I did my PhD in talent acquisition. I always thought of myself as I would be the HR head or a recruitment head of a company. In fact, I would say I was more inclined to be a recruitment head.
Yeah.
Had I not jumped the ship, and this happened my first business happened by accident. I said, man, I see this gap here. I can't be asked fucking working for this multinational company. Nothing wrong with the company. I was a dickhead, So I just said, I can't do this. And the first thing was, noticed a gap between what the industry wanted and what we were preparing, and that's how entrepreneurship started. But if it was not for this, I would have probably been a recruitment head or HR head of some company today, having a fucking boring life. And look at me now, chatting with you. So that's fun.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's situations like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's that sliding doors moment. I guess when we went to a restaurant that had an immersive table, and it was really interactive, and it was cool because we could watch the chefs cooking. And we worked in health clubs, so we'd just finished closeout. So we were celebrating end of the month, hopefully celebrating we'd done our job right and we'd hit. So we'd gone for this dinner and we had this immersive experience, and we were like, this is so cool. And we saw so much innovation in the gym space. New equipment was coming in left, right and centre, but the studio space had never really changed. Bright lights, mirrors, wooden floors. And we just did a lot of research into what environments could really promote better training outcomes. We had an idea that we thought we could make it better. And so we went back that evening and designed the studio that had 270 degree CGI animated walls. And then I went off and worked on it, met with Bev. She said no 55 times. And then on the 56th time, she said, yeah, okay, I think this has got something that we can work with here. And so it was that dinner that started it. So that was our first
And
go.
if you didn't do that, what would you have been doing now?
I really think you find your path. I really believe the path is not set out for you, but I think the universe, or however you want to look at it, will deliver you into the right path. As long as you're open to it and you're receptive and you say yes and go for it, then I think you can fulfill in whatever that path should be. So I think you will always come back to the path you're meant to be on.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Because it's the fundamentals of you.
Yeah.
So you'll never change.
Yeah.
So you'll always find the right path.
Yeah, I can't think of myself doing anything else, other than hustling.
Yeah.
And it could be anything. It doesn't matter. Okay. So the ungoogleable you, we each get to ask one question to each other whose answers cannot be found online. So, okay, what's it that about you that people don't know? Ungoogleable.
Well, you would find out a lot of things. There's not a lot about me online. So I think most things I would imagine. I'm trying to think of something that's interesting. I spent my family is from Africa. So all my family are all over Africa. So my mum was born in Kenya.
Wow.
Spent a lot of time growing up in Kenya, which I absolutely loved. And I think that gave me that desire to travel and experience different cultures. And so I spent a long time traveling.
Wow.
So when I qualified as a PT, obviously you can go anywhere. So I went all around the world doing that. And I think that probably taught me more than anything I could have ever learned at a university, because I learned how to be with people from all different walks of life with all different skill sets. And I think in the work that we do now, my main job is to connect the best people I possibly can. And that's how I'll be successful. So I think that was kind of a really important part of my life. But you could find out, I'm not really very famous. So like most things I could probably tell you now.
But this is very interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know another person from the industry who's got a similar background?
David Stalker.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I listened to his talk and I was like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I know. I can't wait to meet
Can I borrow
him.
that script?
Yeah, we can have a chat. Maybe in Swahili. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, his story is amazing. When he tells this to people say, "What? Really?
Yeah.
Africa, Kenya? Come on, it can't be." But it is.
Yeah.
And he always says he's learned so much from that.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's amazing. Okay, what's next?
And you?
Oh shit, I didn't answer that.
Yeah, you have to answer
What was the
yours.
question? Yeah, okay.
What we can't Google.
I think so. My dad was in the armed forces. I changed. I had never stayed in one school for more than 2 years.
Oh wow, right.
And it was a huge change for me, from north of India to south of India to the east of India. Traveled everywhere.
Yeah.
So I never stayed more than 2 years in any school, and it's nothing to do with my being an asshole kind of a student, but just because I got posted.
Yeah.
But what it taught me was that my ability to adapt. Like I was telling you, I've been in the UK for the last 3 years. I probably know everybody in the industry. Most people would know me in the industry for good reasons or bad, but they would know me.
Yeah.
And that's because the ability to adapt. So I could walk up to somebody, talk to them, and have a meaningful conversation.
Yeah.
And I listen to a lot of my friends who say, oh, my son's 8 years old, and if I move him to another school, how will he adapt? I said, boss, dude, I was just thrown into a new city, which I didn't even know where it was on the map.
Yeah.
And most of these were armed forces areas. Even in India, people would not know the name of those cities where we studied or where we went to. But that's how life was. And you just go in as a teenager, make new friends, and you just get on with your life.
Yeah.
So I think that's something most people
that's
don't know about
incredible.
me.
And they say that life is just a bunch of conversations, essentially.
It is.
And so
it
I
is.
think that is incredible.
No, for me personally, I think the best time I have is when I'm around people.
Yeah.
And especially with people who I can learn from. The top reason of doing this podcast, obviously, is that people learn about entrepreneurship. But you can learn so much from entrepreneurs, what they've done in life, how they've hustled, and this myth that people have that the guy who's building that company knows everything, that's why he's building it.
Oh, yeah.
That there's a course you need to take and there's something you need to do. You do business administration, you learn it. No, nobody fucking knows anything.
No.
Every day in the morning, you wake up and you find yourself in a situation.
Yeah.
I need to figure out what
Yeah.
I'm doing next.
Yeah.
All of us, all entrepreneurs. It's not a job. So it's just, I think it's a mindset thing. So for me, like you said, life is all about good conversations.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. This is interesting. What's next in 5 words? Use 5 words to sum up your vision.
Building the infrastructure of work.
Building the infrastructure of work. Fucking hell, that's 5. That's
There
right.
you go. I was going to say one other word. Actually, But I'm glad I stopped at 5. How about you?
To create sustainable fitness communities.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think that's
We
what.
should talk. I think
Yeah.
they both align.
Yeah, they are pretty aligned actually, and I'm not taking a cue from what you said. Yeah, amazing, good stuff. We've spoken about this, but the best part of being an entrepreneur for me, are the ups and downs that we have in our life, and you wake up in the morning trying to solve a problem. That's a lot of. It requires a lot of brain power, a lot of willpower. So, what do you think for you is the best part of being an entrepreneur?
I think, first of all, being passionate about what I'm doing so that it doesn't feel like work. And I know that sounds like a bit of a cliche and people say that all the time, but it's absolutely imperative that you enjoy it, because you won't be able to sustainably do it unless you love it.
No chance.
And I think the other thing is to solve a problem so that there's a purpose to what you're doing and an achievement behind it. And I know I'm saying 3 things, but it has to be 3 things. And then it's being able to put people together and help them evolve and succeed at being great at what they do. So from a team's perspective, if we were talking about it, there's so many no's and or let's think about it, let's have a think about it, and let's spend 12 months, 18 months thinking about that. And in the end, that timeline kills everything. It kills careers, it kills businesses. It needs to be yes. And if it's wrong, we'll change it. Yes to the promotion, yes to giving that a go, yes to try that. If you've come up with an idea and it's based on something that sounds like it would be a success, go for it, because you can fail 9 times. You need to fail 9 to find the 10th that's successful. So I like not having the restriction to be able to do what you feel is right and being able to quickly pivot if it's not. And that's from a personal and solving a problem, but then also the team around me. We all get to do that. And that is freedom.
This is something I believe in. The path to a yes is always through no's. It could be 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, but that's how it is.
Yes,
that's the reality of
it's true.
it. One of the things, very interesting things you mentioned over lunch was about different cultures when you work with different countries, right?
Yeah.
So you operate right now in the US,
Yes.
in the UK market, I think Australia as well, if I'm not wrong.
Australia and Canada. Yeah.
Australia and Canada.
And now Europe.
And now in the European market, and hopefully in India very soon.
Yes.
So, and what do you think? And you have a dev team in India.
Yes.
So tell me, culturally, how is it to do business? And you can't be politically correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So how is it to do business in the UK versus US versus Australia?
It's so different. So the focus on what matters to each region is different. So you can perfect how you approach the market in the UK, put that in the bin, not relevant in the US.
Yeah.
So you start again. So if you didn't know that, brilliant. Now we're starting again, because they care about different things. They have a different way of going to work. It's not, but you can't get into this theory that it's just so different in the US, because it's not. The problems are the same.
Yeah.
So there's systems that aren't working and we need to find a better way.
But the approach is different.
The approach is different, exactly. So you can start to think, and there can be lots of closed doors saying, well, we don't do things the same way as the UK. So it's a very easy, people want to say no all the time. So it's the different of how they view the pain points. And then there's different styles of communication and different lengths of decision making. So most things are a challenge when you go to a new region, and that's why it's so important to work with.
And there's no
there.
there's no wrong or right in this. It's just different.
No, but you're different.
Okay. So I want to start a business, and I've created a product. I want to go to 3 countries: Australia, America, and the UK. What are the things I should take care of in terms of culturally how different they are to operate in?
Just start in one and stay in one for a while until you really understand everything that you're doing. Right. But no, I think when you go to the US, it's obviously massive. So it really depends on what the product is. So if you're selling a black T-shirt, it's going to be very different advice to if you're opening a health club. Yeah. But just looking at it from kind of a very top level, obviously the US is massive, so it's going to be expensive, but the return should be worth it as well. So that kind of makes sense. But there are having someone on the boots on the ground is really important. I think having boots on the ground everywhere is really important because what it takes you time to understand, they already know. They're like, even down to the nuances. So we call it cover, but in the US they call it subbing. So if we went on to a call with an operator and we were saying, oh, you can solve for cover, they don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, pavement sidewalk.
Yeah,
You know this one.
exactly. So you need to, it's everything, the nuances. And also, people like us do things like this. So if you don't sound like them, you're not talking like them, there's already a little bit of distrust because we're all from different places. So it takes a minute. And it can be really warming and exciting to hear a new accent or something new come from another area. But if it's not from inside your own walls and kind of, there's always a bit of pessimism around whether it will function in the same way in your area. So I guess it's those things.
Australia.
We're very new into that market. So again, we've started something called the blueprint, which is whenever we go into a new region, there's a blueprint that we do. So it's what are the nuances? What it's terminology again, because if you need to understand that market. It's almost disrespectful not to fully immerse yourself in what those pain points are. Are they the same? Because we always want to be solving for something. It's not just about putting software in, because if you put software in, someone doesn't need it, it won't stay in there for very long. And we've got 100% retention because we go in to solve problems. So immersing yourself into the market, making sure that you understand any language nuances, conversion rates, tax is different everywhere, GDPR rules are different everywhere. You've got to know all of that because you look like you care and you understand their business. You're not just selling everywhere because you can.
Yeah.
So I think it's just understanding the devil's in the detail.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's next for CoverMe? What are the new features you're trying to introduce in the app?
So we have focused on answering the main pain points, and that's what the features are built for. So the feedback that we've heard, we are answering those pain points, which is recruitment, compliance, subbing or cover, and communication. So I don't know that it's about necessarily building anything new, but it will be about evolving those features and making sure that we can build upon them and make them better and better. We're going to build onto the blockchain. So the reason for doing that is to make certification checking and qualification checking a lot quicker.
Which is a big part of your
big part.
value
big part of
proposition.
it. So there's a little bit around that being quicker, but the other thing is you'll be able to earn badges and points through being on the CoverMe app. So as an instructor, if I'm a barista at Starbucks, we should have a system where it identifies that you're very good at perhaps talking with people or in the service industry. So that skill should be transferable if you want to go and work at Virgin Active and be on the front desk. So we need to have something whereby you've got a digital CV and you can go into any industry and everything you've ever done, experience-wise or education-wise, is all stored. And so we want to build for the future. We want to create the largest network globally of fitness professionals. And we want to be able to support the growth that we see as possible. And people will grow this industry. Despite it being a digital revolution, you still need people.
Oh, this is all about people. We're all about people.
Undeniably.
Yeah.
So in order for that to happen and to grow, we need to connect people and get the next generation involved in our industry. So we believe that's our main focus.
As a wrap up, final question
Yes.
for you. Okay. So, as an entrepreneur, we all go through ups and downs, right? What do you look up to for your inspiration that keeps you going every day on and on, waking up in the morning, knowing that it's not going to be easy, you're still chasing a dream? What's the inspiration? And what should young entrepreneurs do? How do they keep themselves inspired?
Yeah, I think it comes from if you're in this industry, and I can only talk within this industry because obviously that's the industry I'm in, but I was an athlete when I was really young. So as an athlete or a sports person, you never think, I'm done. You never finish your training. It's never finished. You've never got to, no one's ever like, well, I'm at the peak. That's enough now. Everyone wants to be a bit fitter, bit faster, bit stronger. Even when they're in peak of fitness, you want more.
Yeah.
So having that mentality the grit and determination to train is really difficult. It hurts most of the time. If it's not hurting, it's not working. And I know that's old-fashioned, but it's true.
That's true.
So you constantly put your body under stress, and you seem to like it, and you can grow under that pressure. You see it as an end goal. That end goal keeps moving, and it's the same in business. I don't think the motivation is that you're not there yet. And when you get there, you won't realise you got there because you're pushing for the next thing. And whether that's right or wrong or a good way to live, that drive to succeed just keeps you moving. And I think that's a sporting background helps with that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rosanna.
No, thank you. I've really enjoyed speaking with you today. Thank you
Really
so much.
appreciate this,
Yeah.
and I think people are going to take back a lot from this, because it's a very what you're doing is very innovative, and like you said, disrupting the market. So for young entrepreneurs, this is going to be an amazing episode. I think we'll get amazing feedback for this, and have a lot of comments. So be prepared to answer some questions that you
Absolutely,
learn
I'm
from the
more than
listeners.
happy to. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the main thing is is if you believe you can, you really can do anything. So no barriers, go for it.
Amazing. Thanks,
Thank you
Rosanna.
very much. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for staying through the end. Don't forget to press the subscribe button to see all the episodes that come in. Amazing learning for entrepreneurs from people who've done it and succeeded.